Ladies and gentlemen, life is a journey. And along that journey, we sometimes feel we've taken wrong turns, missed opportunities, or wasted time. But let me remind you, God is a master planner, and in His kingdom, nothing is wasted. What you see as lost, He sees as an opportunity for restoration. You see, restoration is not about giving you back what you had. It's about making it better, stronger, and more impactful than before. When God restores, He multiplies. Restoration in the kingdom is always greater than the loss. Life has a way of clouding our vision, especially when we face seasons of loss, regret, or what we perceive as wasted time. But one of the most powerful signs that God is about to restore your wasted years is when He begins to renew your vision. You start to see life differently. You begin to see possibilities where before you saw obstacles. What was once a source of frustration or despair suddenly becomes an opportunity for growth and purpose. This shift in perspective is not something you manufacture on your own. It is a divine work within you. When God renews your vision, it often comes with a clarity that surprises you. He begins to stir up dreams you thought were long dead. Maybe you had an idea years ago, a goal you abandoned because life got in the way. You may have told yourself, that time is gone. I've missed my chance. But let me tell you, in God's kingdom, there is no such thing as too late. He is not limited by time or human schedules. He operates in eternity, and when He says He will restore the years, He means it. This is why He begins by awakening your spirit to dream again. You see, vision is the key to restoration because it gives you something to pursue. Without vision, the past controls you. Without vision, you're trapped in a cycle of regret, replaying the mistakes you made and the opportunities you missed. But when God renews your vision, He lifts your eyes from the past and focuses them on the future. It's like He's saying, look ahead. I'm not done with you. I still have plans for your life. This renewed focus energizes you. It gives you hope, and hope is the foundation of restoration. Sometimes this renewed vision comes through a single moment, an encounter with God, a word of encouragement, or a scripture that speaks directly to your situation. Other times, it's a gradual process. Day by day, you start to notice a change in your perspective. Where you once saw impossibilities, you now see potential. Where you once felt defeated, you now feel determined. This is God at work planting seeds of restoration in your heart. Renewed vision doesn't just help you see what's possible, it also helps you see who you are. You begin to remember that you are not defined by your mistakes or your wasted years. You are defined by the purpose God placed in you from the beginning. This realization is transformative. When you understand that God's plans for you have not been canceled, you can step forward with confidence, knowing that your best days are ahead. As your vision becomes clearer, you'll notice something else. Your desires begin to align with God's will. This is crucial because restoration is not about getting back everything you want. It's about stepping into everything God wants for you. His vision for your life is far greater than anything you could imagine on your own. So when He renews your vision, He is also preparing you to receive what He has planned. He's shaping your heart, your character, and your mindset to match His purpose. This renewed vision also comes with direction. God doesn't just show you what's possible. He shows you how to get there. He begins to order your steps. He brings clarity to decisions that seem confusing. He opens doors you couldn't open on your own. Pay attention to these moments because they are signs of restoration at work. When you start to feel a sense of purpose and direction, it's not by accident. It's God guiding you toward the future He has prepared. Let me remind you of this. When God restores, He doesn't give you back what you lost in the same condition it was in. He makes it better. He multiplies it. And He uses it for His glory. That's why the vision He gives you now will always exceed what you had before. It's not about going back to the way things were. It's about moving forward into something greater. If you're feeling that stirring in your spirit, if ideas you thought were forgotten are resurfacing, or if you're starting to believe again in the promises of God, take it as a sign. God is renewing your vision. He's preparing you for a season of restoration that will not only redeem your wasted years, but will also exceed your expectations. Trust Him in this process. What's ahead is greater than anything behind you. When God is about to restore your wasted years, one of the most evident signs is the divine connections He begins to bring into your life. These connections may not always come in the form you expect, but they are orchestrated by God for a purpose. Relationships are powerful. They can either propel you forward or hold you back. When God is preparing to restore your life, He carefully positions people in your path to help you fulfill your destiny. It is important to understand that restoration doesn't happen in isolation. God often uses people as vessels of His blessings, wisdom, and encouragement. These divine connections can come in many forms: mentors, friends, business partners, or even complete strangers who seem to appear at just the right time. At times, these people will speak into your life, guiding you with wisdom that aligns perfectly with God's plan for you. At other times, they may provide opportunities or open doors that would otherwise have remained closed. What's crucial to recognize is that these connections are not coincidental, they are divinely appointed. Hey, think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph's life was filled with what seemed like wasted years, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. But in every setback, God was working behind the scenes, arranging divine connections that would ultimately lead to his restoration. His connection with the butler in prison was the key to his elevation to Pharaoh's right-hand man. Without that seemingly insignificant interaction, Joseph's destiny would have been delayed or altered altogether. God's plan of restoration for Joseph requires strategic relationships, and the same is true for you. You might wonder, why is this significant for me? The answer is simple. God never intended for you to walk alone. He knows the people you need to fulfill your purpose, and He will bring them into your life at the right time. These connections often come unexpectedly, and when they do, it's easy to overlook their significance. You may not realize at first how important these relationships will become, but as you move forward, you will see how God is using them to restore what you thought was lost. Sometimes these connections come through others who have walked a similar path and can offer you wisdom and guidance. A mentor, for example, can help you see the bigger picture when you're too close to a situation to understand it. They may have experienced the same struggles or challenges you're facing and can offer insight on how to navigate them. The key is to be open to these relationships and recognize them as part of God's plan. In other instances, these divine connections might come as people who open doors for you, opportunities you didn't know existed, or does that seem closed suddenly swing wide open. It could be a business contact who offers you a partnership, a friend who introduces you to someone who can help you grow, or even an unexpected encounter that leads to a job opportunity or financial breakthrough. These connections may seem small at first, but they are God's way of positioning you for restoration. It's also important to note that divine connections are not always with people who are currently in a position to help you. Sometimes God places you in relationship with someone who you will help in the future, and in doing so, you are preparing yourself for your own restoration. It's through these connections that you will not only be restored, but will also play a part in restoring others. Remember, restoration is not a one-way street. It's a process that involves mutual growth and purpose. Another aspect of divine connections is that they often come in seasons of transition. God brings people into your life when He's shifting things in your favor. You might be going through a season of uncertainty, wondering how everything will come together, and then out of nowhere, someone enters your life who brings clarity or opens a door you couldn't have opened on your own. This is God's timing, and it is always perfect. It may not look the way you expected, but it will always be exactly what you need. As God continues to restore you, He will also bring the right people at the right time to help you fulfill your purpose. These connections are not accidents. They are part of His divine plan to bring you into the fullness of what He has prepared for you. And as you embrace these relationships, be sure to give credit to God for orchestrating them. Recognize that He is moving behind the scenes, setting up your life for a future far greater than you could have imagined. When you begin to notice these divine connections, don't ignore them. Embrace them, nurture them, and allow them to help guide you to the next step in your journey. These relationships are the building blocks of your restoration, and through them, God will restore what you thought was lost. One of the most remarkable signs that God is about to restore all your wasted years is the unexplainable favor that begins to surround you. This favor doesn't always make sense in the natural realm. It's not something you can work for or earn through your own efforts. It's a divine favor that God places on your life, often in ways that you could never have predicted. When God's favor is on you, things start happening that defy logic, reason, and even your past experiences. Favor in the kingdom of God is not just about receiving what you want, it's about receiving what you need to fulfill your purpose. It's the unexpected blessing that opens doors you couldn't open yourself. It's the promotion at work when you least expected it, or the opportunity to do something you've always dreamed of but thought was out of reach. This favor is a clear indication that God is actively restoring you, not just to where you were, but to a greater place than you ever imagined. When God's favor is on your life, doors that were once closed begin to swing wide open. Opportunities that seemed impossible now become possible. It's as though the very atmosphere around you shifts, making way for your advancement. People who once overlooked you now begin to notice your talents, your potential, and your value. They offer you opportunities, partnerships, and resources that you could never have acquired on your own. You may find yourself in situations where others seem eager to help you, even when you have done nothing to earn their support. This is the favor of God at work, positioning you for restoration. Favor is also about receiving resources that equip you for the next season of your life. When God restores, He doesn't just give you back what you lost, He gives you more. It provides you with the resources you need to accomplish His will. Whether it's financial provision, knowledge, skills, or connections, the favor of God ensures that you have everything you need to move forward. You might find yourself in a position where what you thought you lacked suddenly becomes available to you. This is God's way of demonstrating that He is not only restoring what was lost, but is also preparing you for greater things ahead. But favor doesn't always come in ways that you expect. Sometimes it can appear in the form of challenges or difficulties that push you to grow and develop. You might find yourself in a difficult situation, but instead of feeling defeated, you begin to sense that God is with you in a special way. There may be an underlying sense of peace, strength, and resilience that you didn't have before. What seemed like a setback now feels like a setup for something greater. Even in the midst of difficulty, you sense the favor of God at work, molding you and preparing you for the restoration that's about to unfold. Favor is also a marker of God's timing. It's not about getting things when you want them, but receiving them at the perfect moment. God's favor is always on time. He knows exactly when to release the blessing, when to open the door, and when to position you for the next step in your journey. This favor isn't about rush or impatience. It's about trusting that God knows the exact moment to bring things into alignment for you. As God restores your wasted years, His favor also brings favor from others. People who you never expected to show support now become your allies. These relationships are not random. They are part of God's divine plan. He moves hearts to favor you, not because you are perfect, but because He is working on your behalf. This is a season where favor will come to you from unexpected places. Whether it's a stranger offering you help, a leader recommending you for an opportunity, or a friend opening doors for you, God's favor is evident in the kindness and generosity of others. But it's important to recognize that favor isn't just about receiving. It's about stewarding what God gives you. As God pours out His favor on your life, it's essential to use it for His glory. When doors open for you, walk through them with humility and gratitude. When opportunities present themselves, seize them with a heart that honors God. The favor of God isn't just for your benefit, it's a tool for you to fulfill His purpose in your life and to be a blessing to others. As you experience this unexplainable favor, trust that it's not just a sign of restoration, but also a confirmation that God is actively working in your life. This favor is proof that God is orchestrating your life in ways that go beyond your understanding. He is positioning you for a season of abundance, not just in material blessings, but in the fulfillment of your purpose and the realization of your dreams. When you begin to see favor in ways that seem impossible, remember it's God's favor at work. It's a clear signal that He is restoring the years that seemed lost. And what's ahead is far greater than anything behind you. The favor you are experiencing is just the beginning of the incredible restoration that God is bringing into your life. When God is preparing to restore all your wasted years, one of the most powerful signs you will experience is that His restoration will always be beyond your expectations. God's restoration isn't merely about returning what was lost or fixing what was broken. It's about making things better, stronger, and more purposeful than they were before. This divine restoration is a multiplication A process where what seemed lost is replaced with something far more impactful than what you originally had. God does not simply return things to the way they were. He creates a greater future for you, one filled with new opportunities, new blessings, and an increased capacity to fulfill your purpose. This principle is clearly illustrated in the life of Job, a man who lost everything, his wealth, his health, his family, and yet when God restored him, it was not just a simple replacement of what he had. Job received double of what he lost. The Bible says, the Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part. His restoration wasn't just a return to his previous position. It was a divine upgrade, a new season of abundance, a deeper understanding, and a stronger faith. When God restores, he doesn't just give you back what you lost, he gives you more, and he makes it better. That is the nature of God's restoration. Think about it. If God were only interested in giving back what you lost, it would mean that he simply desires to return things to a previous state. But God is a God of progress, not stagnation. He is a God who always moves us forward, even when it feels like we've been stuck in one place for too long. His restoration plan is always designed to take us higher. It's about bringing us into a new season of increase, new levels of purpose, and new heights of blessing. Sometimes the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and we feel as though we've lost time, relationships, opportunities, and resources. We may have made mistakes, taken wrong turns, or missed the chance to see certain moments. In these seasons, it's easy to feel as though time is wasted beyond recovery. But God has a way of redeeming even the most broken parts of our lives. His restoration is never just a replacement of what we had, it's about the overflow. What God gives back to you in the process of restoration is always greater than the original. The beauty of divine restoration is that it involves more than just material blessings. It's not limited to the tangible things you can see. Restoration also encompasses emotional healing, spiritual growth, and the deepening of relationships that were once strained. You may have experienced hurt or disappointment, but when God restores, he heals the wounds that caused those losses. He rebuilds your capacity to trust, to love, and to serve with greater joy and strength. This internal restoration prepares you to handle the external blessings he's bringing your way. In your journey of restoration, you may also find that what was once lost has actually led you to greater opportunities for growth. Sometimes in losing something, we gain wisdom, resilience, and an increased sense of dependence on God. As God restores, he uses the lessons you've learned in your seasons of loss to equip you for the future. So when he gives you back what you lost, he also gives you the wisdom to steward it well and the maturity to handle it with gratitude. The restoration God brings into your life also often involves relationships. If you've experienced brokenness in your relationships, whether it's family, friendships, or partnerships, God doesn't just mend them to their former state. He strengthens those relationships, refines them, and deepens them. He makes them stronger and more purposeful than they were before. This is what it means to be truly restored, to come into a place of wholeness where every part of your life is not only healed, but also positioned for a greater future. What might seem like the end of a season is often just the beginning of God's greater plan. When God restores, he does so with his perfect timing. The doors that were closed in the past open with ease when the time is right. The resources you once lacked suddenly appear. The relationships you need to fulfill your destiny are revived or formed. What seemed like a period of loss becomes a season of divine increase. And this increase is not just for you, it's for those around you as well. When God restores your wasted years, it's not just for your benefit. It's for the advancement of his kingdom, for the glory of his name, and for the fulfillment of your given purpose. You become a living testimony of his power to restore, and through your journey, others are inspired to believe that they too can experience restoration in their lives. God is in the business of making things better, of multiplying what we thought was lost, and of bringing us into a future far beyond what we could have imagined. His restoration is not a simple return. It is a divine upgrade, a multiplication that sets you up for a future filled with purpose, abundance, and fulfillment. As you step into this season of restoration, trust that what is ahead will be greater than anything you have left behind. God is preparing you for something far better than you could have ever dreamed. One of the most transformative signs that God is about to restore all your wasted years is when you begin to experience a shift in your heart. This shift is subtle, but it's profound. It's a change that begins on the inside and eventually radiates outward, affecting everything you do, how you see the world, and how you approach your future. God doesn't just restore your external circumstances, He starts with your inner being. This internal transformation is vital to the restoration process because it prepares you to receive and sustain what God is about to do in your life. When God is about to restore, He first works in your heart because He knows that the condition of your heart will determine the success of the restoration. If your heart remains hardened or resistant to change, you may not be able to handle the blessings and opportunities that are coming your way. But when God softens your heart, He prepares you for the new things He's about to bring into your life. This heart transformation opens the door to your restoration. One of the most significant shifts that happen in your heart during this process is a shift from bitterness to forgiveness. In the seasons where you feel that time has been wasted, it's easy to hold on to feelings of resentment, disappointment, or anger. You might feel as though others, or even life itself, have robbed you of what you deserved. These emotions can become a heavy burden, weighing you down and preventing you from moving forward. However, when God is about to restore, He begins to heal your heart and free you from the chains of unforgiveness. You begin to see the past with new eyes, not through the lens of pain, but through the lens of healing and grace. You realize that forgiveness is not about excusing the wrongs that were done to you, but about releasing yourself from the grip of bitterness. God knows that to step into the fullness of His restoration, you must first release the past. This shift in your heart also involves a deepening of your trust in God. In the seasons of wasted years, you may have questioned God's plan or doubted goodness. You might have wondered why things didn't go the way you expected or why you had to endure so much pain. But as God begins to work in your heart, He reawakens your trust in His sovereignty and timing. You start to understand that even when you couldn't see it, God was always at work behind the scenes orchestrating your restoration. This renewed trust in God becomes the foundation of your future. When you trust Him, you can boldly step into the new opportunities and blessings He has in store for you. You begin to believe that nothing is impossible for God, and that He is able to redeem even the years that seem lost. As your heart shifts, you also begin to experience a transformation in your desires. Where once you may have been focused on what you lacked or what you missed out on, you now begin to hunger for what God has for you. You develop a desire for His will and His purpose above all else. This internal shift is essential because it aligns your heart with God's plans. When your desires align with God's desires, you become more attuned to His voice and more responsive to His guidance. You no longer chase after things that are outside of His will for your life, but you become focused on the things that matter most: His kingdom, His purpose, and His glory. This change in your heart ensures that when God restores, you won't waste the blessings He gives you because your heart is now in a position to receive them rightly. Another aspect of this heart transformation is a shift from fear to faith. During the seasons when you feel that your years have been wasted, fear can often take root in your heart. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, or fear that you're too late to fulfill God's purpose can all hold you back. But when God is about to restore, He replaces that fear with faith. You begin to believe that your best days are ahead of you, that God is more than able to bring to pass every promise He has made, and that He is working all things together for your good. This faith empowers you to move forward with confidence, knowing that the God who has brought you through the past will continue to lead you into the future. This transformation of the heart also involves a shift in your perspective. God changes the way you see your life and your circumstances. You start to look at the years you thought were wasted as the very foundation for what He is about to build in your life. The struggles, the losses, the setbacks, they all become part of your story, but they no longer define you. Your heart is now full of hope, and you see every challenge as an opportunity for growth. You begin to view your life through the lens of God's promises rather than through the lens of regret. You know that nothing is wasted in God's economy and that He will use everything for His glory and your good. When God shifts your heart, He doesn't just prepare you for what's coming, He prepares you to handle it. He makes sure that you are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally ready for the new season of restoration He is bringing. This internal shift is critical because it positions you to step into your restoration with the right heart, ready to embrace all that God has for you. So, if you're feeling that shift in your heart, a softening, a deepening trust, a renewed hunger for God's, will take it as a sign that restoration is on the way. God is preparing you not just for what He is about to give you, but for who He is about to make you into. His restoration is about to take place in your life, and it begins with the transformation of your heart. When your heart is in alignment with God's purpose, you're ready to receive everything He has prepared for you. As God prepares to restore all your wasted years, one of the most profound signs you will experience is the way He starts to renew your mind. The mind is a powerful thing, and it is the place where everything begins. The way you think about yourself, about others, and about the world around you shapes the direction of your life. When God begins to restore, He doesn't just change your circumstances, He transforms the way you think, perceive, and understand the world. This renewal of your mind is crucial because it changes how you see your past, your present, and your future. The first thing that happens when God renews your mind is that He helps you to break free from the strongholds of the past. In the years that may have felt wasted, it's easy for negative thoughts, regrets, and failures to take root in your mind. These thoughts can become strongholds, mental patterns that keep you trapped in cycles of defeat and discouragement. But when God begins to restore, He starts by breaking down those strongholds and replacing them with the truth of His word. You begin to see yourself not through the lens of your past mistakes or losses, but through the lens of God's love, grace, and forgiveness. You realize that your past does not define you. What was lost is not what determines your future. The renewing of your mind helps you to let go of the weight of past disappointments, and it gives you the mental clarity to move forward into the future that God has prepared for you. Another key aspect of mind renewal is the transformation of your perspective. In the seasons of wasted years, it's easy to develop a perspective that is skewed by fear, regret, and a sense of hopelessness. You may find yourself thinking, I'll never recover from this, or I've missed my chance. But when God begins to renew your mind, He changes how you view your circumstances. You no longer see setbacks as permanent, but as setups for God's greater plan. You begin to look at difficulties as opportunities for growth and trust that God is using every situation to shape you and prepare you for His restoration. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances, you start to view yourself as a victor, someone who is not defined by what has happened to them, but by what God is about to do through them. This renewal of your mind also includes a shift from a mindset of limitation to a mindset of abundance. When you feel that time has been wasted, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that there is not enough time, resources, or opportunity to make up for what has been lost. You may feel as though your potential is limited and that there is no hope of achieving your dreams. However, when God begins to restore, He fills your mind with the understanding that with Him there is always more. He is a God of abundance, and there is no shortage of opportunities in His kingdom. You begin to believe that God can redeem the time, that He can bring resources to you when you need them, and that He can open doors that no one else can close. This mindset shift empowers you to move forward with faith, knowing that God's provision is limitless and that He is able to restore not just what you've lost, but more than you could ever imagine. A renewed mind also brings a shift in how you approach your purpose. During seasons of wasted years, it's easy to question your purpose or feel as though you've missed the opportunity to fulfill it. But when God begins to renew your mind, He gives you a fresh understanding of your calling. You begin to see that your purpose has not been derailed, it has simply been delayed. God's plans for you are still intact, and His timing is perfect. The renewed mind helps you to understand that your calling is not dependent on what you have or have not accomplished in the past. Instead, it's based on God's grace and His will for your life. As He renews your mind, you begin to regain clarity and confidence in your purpose, and you're able to take the next steps toward fulfilling the unique destiny He has designed for you. Another transformation that takes place when God renews your mind is a shift in your emotional responses. In times of hardship, it's easy to allow your emotions to dictate your actions. You may feel overwhelmed by fear, anxiety, or frustration, and these emotions can cloud your judgment. But when God renews your mind, He helps you to take control of your thoughts and emotions. You begin to think more clearly and respond with wisdom and peace. Instead of being led by fear, you are led by faith. Instead of being consumed by anxiety, you are filled with a sense of calm assurance in God's plans. This emotional stability is essential for walking in the restoration that God has in store for you. It allows you to make decisions based on God's truth, not your emotional reactions. And it helps you to stay focused on promises rather than being swayed by temporary circumstances. The final aspect of mind renewal is that it aligns your thoughts with God's word. The more your mind is renewed, the more you begin to think in alignment with God's promises and his will. You start to believe that what God says about you is true. You believe that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are more than a conqueror, and that God has a good plan for your life. This transformation of your mind doesn't happen overnight, but it is a process. As you spend time in God's word and allow it to shape your thinking, you begin to see your life through a new lens. You start to think more positively, more confidently, and more in line with God's truth. This renewed mindset equips you to walk in the fullness of the restoration that God is bringing into your life. When God begins to restore your wasted years, he starts by renewing your mind. As your thinking changes, so do your actions, your responses, and your outlook on life. With a renewed mind, you can embrace the future with hope, faith, and confidence, knowing that the best is yet to come. As we reflect on these signs of restoration, we understand that God's plan for our lives is not limited by the setbacks, mistakes, or years we may have perceived as wasted. His love and grace transcend all, and when he begins the process of restoring, it's not just about returning to what was lost, it's about making everything better, stronger, and more purposeful than before. Each sign we've discussed is a divine invitation to step into the fullness of what God has in store. With a heart that is healed, a mind that is renewed, and a future that is more incredible than we can imagine. Remember, no year, no season, and no moment is ever truly wasted in God's economy. What may seem like a delay or a detour is in fact God's preparation for something greater. So as you embrace the signs of restoration, let your heart be filled with hope, your mind be transformed, and your faith rise higher. Trust that God in his perfect timing is bringing you into a season of unimaginable restoration where everything you thought was lost will be made whole, multiplied, and aligned with his divine purpose. I want to thank you for taking this time to reflect on these truths. As you move forward, may you carry the assurance that God is with you every step of the way, preparing you for a future filled with his blessings. Good luck as you embrace this season of restoration, and may God's favor, peace, and abundance be with you now and always. Thank you. And may you walk confidently in the hope of his promises.